You wake up feeling refreshed, sunlight streaming in through the curtains, and your stomach gently reminding you it's time for breakfast. You head to the kitchen, ready to start the day right, maybe with a bright, fresh juice, a bowl of oatmeal, or a slice of whole wheat toast. After all, you've heard these are the healthy choices. But as a neurologist who has spent decades treating seniors after strokes, I have to tell you something alarming. Many of the breakfasts we believe are the best for us are quietly setting the stage for one of the most devastating medical emergencies we can face. A stroke doesn't always announce itself with dramatic warning signs. Sometimes it's a creeping danger that builds silently over the years. The narrowing of blood vessels, the subtle hardening of arterial walls, the slow accumulation of plaque. And breakfast, the very meal meant to nourish and energize us, can play a surprising role in accelerating that process. Picture this: a 68-year-old retired teacher named Mrs. Helen, sharp-minded and full of life, calls her daughter one morning and struggles to get her words out. By the time paramedics arrive, her right side is weak, her speech slurred. She survives the stroke, but her independence is forever altered. When we looked at her daily habits, one stood out: her heart-healthy breakfast. Every morning for over 20 years, she began her day with fresh citrus juice, whole grain toast, and a flavored low-fat yogurt. All seemingly harmless, even beneficial, yet the combination quietly elevated her blood pressure, spiked her blood sugar, and over years contributed to arterial damage. Here's what most people don't realize. As we age, our bodies change in ways that make us more vulnerable. Blood vessels stiffen, making it harder for them to expand and contract as needed. Our metabolism slows, meaning sugar and fat linger longer in our system. Hormonal changes, especially after menopause for women, alter how we store fat and regulate cholesterol. Even the way our kidneys filter excess sodium becomes less efficient. A breakfast that's harmless in your 30s can become dangerous in your 70s, and the danger isn't always obvious. Healthy labels can be misleading. That fresh squeezed orange juice, it might be loaded with natural sugars that spike blood glucose. The whole grain toast. It could contain compounds that block the absorption of essential minerals needed for vascular health. Even low-fat yogurt, often marketed as a diet-friendly choice, can hide spoonfuls of added sugar, increasing inflammation and oxidative stress inside your arteries. One of the most frustrating things for me as a physician is seeing patients who genuinely try to make good choices, but unknowingly end up harming themselves because the advice they've been given is incomplete. We're told to avoid fried breakfasts, processed meats, and pastries. And yes, that's important, but we're not. Told that certain wholesome foods, especially when eaten together first thing in the morning, can set off a cascade of biochemical reactions that strain the heart and brain. Let me give you an example from the clinic. I once treated a 72-year-old man, Mr. Carter, who was recovering from a mild stroke. He had no obvious risk factors beyond his age. He didn't smoke, exercised regularly, and ate what he thought was a model breakfast: oatmeal with raisins, a tall glass of grapefruit juice, and black coffee. But grapefruit juice can interfere with the way the body processes certain medications, including blood pressure pills. The raisins in his oatmeal sent his blood sugar soaring, and the black coffee, consumed on an empty stomach, temporarily spiked his blood pressure. Alone, each of these effects might be manageable. Combined, day after day, they became a perfect storm for vascular trouble. That's why it's critical for seniors to rethink not just what they eat, but how foods interact with each other and with the aging body. Your breakfast choices aren't just about calories or vitamins, they're about how your body's delicate systems handle sudden surges of sugar, salt, or stimulants. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. Today, I'm going to walk you through 9 common breakfast foods that could be increasing your stroke risk and what you can do instead. We'll explore how even the most innocent-looking items can impact blood flow to your brain, raise your blood pressure, or quietly damage your arteries over time. And we'll start with one that's sitting in millions of refrigerators right now, just waiting to be poured into a glass. For many people, nothing feels more refreshing in the morning than a tall glass of fresh squeezed orange or grapefruit juice. The bright color, the tangy taste. It seems like the perfect way to start the day. After all, citrus juice is packed with vitamin C, antioxidants, and other nutrients we've been told are good for the immune system. But for seniors, this seemingly wholesome habit can hide a dangerous truth. Certain citrus juices, especially grapefruit, can interact with common medications and trigger a chain reaction that raises stroke risk. Here's why. Grapefruit contains natural compounds called furanocoumarins. While harmless in small amounts for most younger adults, these compounds can interfere with an enzyme in the intestines known as CYP3A4. This enzyme's job is to help break down many prescription medications before they enter the bloodstream. When you drink grapefruit juice, the furanocoumarins block this enzyme, allowing higher than intended amounts of the drug to circulate in your body. For seniors, this can be disastrous. Many blood pressure medications, cholesterol-lowering drugs, statins, and even certain anti-arrhythmia medicines are affected by grapefruit juice. Instead of helping your heart and brain, your medication levels can spike to dangerous levels, leading to sudden drops in blood pressure, dizziness, irregular heartbeats, or even bleeding in the brain. I recall one patient, Mr. Thompson, a 74-year-old retired engineer, who came to me after experiencing a transient ischemic attack, often called a mini-stroke. He had been diligent about taking his prescribed statin and calcium channel blocker for years. His diet was clean, his exercise consistent. But every morning, without fail, he drank a glass of freshly squeezed grapefruit juice because he believed it was doctor-approved. Over time, the drug interactions built up in his system, causing sudden fluctuations in his blood pressure. One morning, as he stood up from his breakfast table, he became lightheaded, stumbled, and temporarily lost vision in his right eye. It was a warning sign, one that could have been much worse. Orange juice, while not as notorious as grapefruit juice, also carries potential risks for older adults. Its high natural sugar content can cause rapid blood sugar spikes, particularly dangerous for seniors with diabetes or prediabetes. This sudden surge triggers the pancreas to release a flood of insulin, which can then cause a rapid drop in blood sugar, leaving you feeling shaky, weak, and mentally foggy. Repeated spikes and crashes contribute to insulin resistance over time, a major driver of cardiovascular disease. And let's not forget about the acidity of citrus juice. In older adults, high acidity can irritate the stomach lining, leading to inflammation or worsening acid reflux. Chronic acid irritation can cause a stress response in the body, raising cortisol levels, a hormone that, in excess, damages blood vessels and increases stroke risk. Now, you might be wondering, is the occasional glass of juice really that bad? The truth is, frequency matters. An occasional small serving is unlikely to cause harm for most people. But for seniors on daily medications, drinking citrus juice every morning creates a constant interference that compounds over weeks, months, and years. It's not the single glass that's the problem. It's the repeated, long-term impact on your blood vessels and medication balance. The good news? There are safer ways to enjoy the flavor and health benefits of citrus without the risks. One option is to eat the whole fruit instead of juicing it. Whole fruit provides fiber, which slows sugar absorption and allows you to consume smaller, less concentrated amounts of furanocoumarins. Another approach is to swap grapefruit juice for other low-interaction beverages, such as water infused with berries, or herbal teas like rooibos or chamomile. When I explain this to patients, they're often shocked, not because they didn't believe me, but because no one had ever warned them. Doctors and dietitians sometimes overlook these interactions, assuming patients don't consume enough juice to matter. But in reality, many seniors have been following the same breakfast routine for decades. The small choices, repeated daily, are what shape long-term health outcomes. So, before you pour your next glass of grapefruit or orange juice, consider what's at stake. The vitamins might be helpful, but if they come packaged with drug interactions, blood sugar spikes, and vascular strain, the cost may be far greater than the benefit. And if you think grapefruit juice is surprising, wait until you hear about the breakfast staple that has been marketed as heart-healthy for decades, yet can hide more sodium and sugar than a fast food burger. That's coming up next. Oatmeal has long been a symbol of a wholesome, heart-friendly breakfast. The image of a steaming bowl topped with fresh fruit or a sprinkle of cinnamon is practically the poster child for healthy eating. And in many cases, oatmeal can be a great choice, rich in soluble fiber, particularly beta-glucan, which can help lower LDL cholesterol. But here's the part most seniors never hear. Not all oatmeal is created equal, and certain types can quietly undermine your brain and heart health, especially if you're over 60. The biggest culprit? Instant oatmeal packets. They're quick, convenient, and often marketed as a healthy start to the day. But many of these packets come loaded with hidden sugars and sodium, levels that, when consumed daily, can slowly erode vascular health. For someone trying to manage blood pressure or prevent stroke, this is a dangerous combination. Let's break it down. The average flavored instant oatmeal packet can contain 8 to 12 grams of added sugar. That's 2 to 3 teaspoons before you even add fruit, milk, or sweeteners. Consuming this sugar first thing in the morning can cause a rapid rise in blood glucose, followed by a crash a few hours later, a cycle that puts stress on your cardiovascular system. For seniors who may already have insulin resistance, this spike and crash pattern can accelerate arterial damage. Sodium is another hidden threat. While oatmeal itself is naturally low in sodium, many instant varieties contain added salt for flavor and shelf life. Some packets pack as much as 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. When you add milk or pair it with other salty breakfast items, your daily intake can climb quickly, raising blood pressure and increasing strain on delicate brain vessels. I remember treating Mrs. Alvarez, a 71-year-old grandmother who had always been meticulous about her diet. After a minor stroke, she insisted she didn't understand how it happened. She avoided fried foods, ate vegetables daily, and exercised 3 times a week. But when I asked about breakfast, she proudly described her routine. "Oh, I eat oatmeal. Every day, doctor. It's the healthy kind from the box, with apples and cinnamon." When we checked the brand, we found it had 12 grams of added sugar and nearly 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. Multiply that by years of daily consumption, and it became clear how this healthy habit had contributed to her high blood pressure and eventual stroke. Beyond sugar and sodium, there's another issue with instant oats: processing. Unlike steel-cut or old-fashioned rolled oats, instant oats are pre-cooked, flattened, and often mixed with flavoring powders. This makes them digest much faster, which means their carbohydrates enter your bloodstream more quickly, spiking blood sugar levels even higher than less processed oats. Over time, these repeated spikes damage the endothelium, the thin layer of cells lining your blood vessels, making them more prone to stiffness and clot formation. For seniors, protecting the endothelium is crucial. Once damaged, it's harder for blood vessels to relax and expand, a process that's essential for maintaining steady blood flow to the brain. Compromised blood vessels increase the risk of both ischemic strokes, caused by clots, and hemorrhagic strokes, caused by vessel rupture. So, what's the solution? If you love oatmeal, switch to steel-cut oats or old-fashioned rolled oats with no added sugar or sodium. These varieties take a little longer to cook, but they provide a slower, more stable release of glucose into your bloodstream. Add natural sweetness with fresh berries, which also supply antioxidants that help protect your vessels, or sprinkle on cinnamon, which can help regulate blood sugar. If you need more flavor, consider unsweetened almond milk or a small drizzle of pure honey, but keep it minimal. Many of my patients who make this change not only see improvements in their blood sugar and blood pressure readings, but also notice they feel fuller for longer and have more consistent energy throughout the morning. And that's the key. A truly healthy breakfast should give you sustained energy, not short bursts, followed by a crash. The lesson here is simple. A food's reputation doesn't always match its reality. Even something as familiar and comforting as oatmeal can harm your brain and heart if it's loaded with hidden additives. And if oatmeal's secret dangers surprise you, you'll want to hear about the next breakfast staple. It's praised for being wholesome and fiber-rich, yet it contains compounds that can actually prevent your body from absorbing minerals essential for keeping blood vessels strong and flexible. That's coming up next. Whole wheat toast has long been marketed as a healthier alternative to white bread, richer in fiber, higher in nutrients, and better for blood sugar control. And while it's true that whole grains can be beneficial, there's a hidden side to this seemingly wholesome choice that most seniors have never been told. Certain compounds in whole wheat can actually block your body's ability to absorb critical minerals that keep your heart and brain healthy. The main culprit is a naturally occurring substance called phytic acid, or phytate. Found in the bran of whole grains, phytic acid binds to minerals such as magnesium, calcium, iron, and zinc in your digestive tract, preventing your body from absorbing them effectively. For younger people with robust nutrient stores, this might not be a major concern. But for seniors, who often have lower stomach acid, slower digestion, and already reduced mineral absorption, the impact can be significant. Why does this matter for stroke prevention? Minerals like magnesium and potassium are essential for maintaining healthy blood pressure and preventing dangerous arterial stiffness. Zinc plays a role in vascular repair, while iron helps deliver oxygen to the brain. When you consistently miss out on these nutrients, your blood vessels can weaken, your blood pressure can creep upward, and your risk of stroke increases. I recall a patient named Ms. Patel, a 70-year-old retired librarian who prided herself on her disciplined diet. Every morning, she ate 2 slices of whole wheat toast with a light spread of margarine and a side of fruit. She assumed she was giving her body exactly what it needed. But during a checkup, her blood work revealed low magnesium and iron levels, despite her eating plenty of foods that contained them. She also struggled with fatigue, occasional dizziness, and rising blood pressure. When we looked deeper, her daily whole wheat toast habit, combined with other phytate-rich foods, had been quietly interfering with her nutrient absorption for years. Another issue with store-bought whole wheat bread is that it's often not 100% whole grain. Many commercial brands use a blend of refined flour and whole wheat flour, along with added sugars, sodium, and preservatives to improve texture and shelf life. This means you may still get the quick blood sugar spikes and extra salt you were trying to avoid in the first place. For seniors with prediabetes, hypertension, or cardiovascular concerns, those daily spikes in sodium boosts are exactly what we're trying to prevent. So, what can you do if you enjoy your morning toast? The solution isn't to give up bread entirely, but to choose it wisely and prepare it in a way that minimizes the downsides. Look for breads labeled 100% whole grain or sprouted grain. Sprouted grains undergo a natural germination process that reduces phytic acid and increases the availability of minerals. Sourdough bread is another option. The fermentation process helps break down phytates and makes nutrients more accessible to your body. Pairing your toast with foods rich in vitamin C, like fresh berries or tomato slices, can also help enhance mineral absorption. And instead of margarine, consider heart-healthy spreads like avocado, which is rich in potassium, and healthy fats that support brain and vascular health. When I worked with Ms. Patel to swap her store-bought whole wheat bread for a sprouted grain option and pair it with nutrient-rich toppings, her blood work improved within months. Her magnesium levels rose, her energy returned, and her blood pressure readings stabilized. This is the kind of change that may seem small, but can have a profound impact over time. Breakfast should be a meal that fuels you, not one that silently robs you of the nutrients your brain and heart rely on. If the hidden dangers of whole wheat toast surprise you, wait until you hear about the next breakfast mistake. It involves one of the most beloved protein sources, often praised for its health benefits, but when paired with the wrong side dish, it can turn into a silent artery stiffener. That's coming up next. Eggs have long been celebrated as a near-perfect food. They're packed with high-quality protein, vitamins like B12 and D, and essential minerals like selenium and choline, all important for maintaining muscle mass, supporting brain health, and keeping energy levels stable. For seniors, eggs can be especially valuable because they're easy to prepare, soft to chew, and provide nutrients that help combat age-related muscle loss. But here's where the problem begins. It's not usually the egg itself that's dangerous. It's what we eat alongside it. One of the most common breakfast pairings is eggs with processed meats, like bacon, sausage, or ham. These salty, fatty sides have been a breakfast tradition for generations, but for seniors, this combination can quietly stiffen arteries, raise blood pressure, and significantly increase stroke risk. Processed meats are loaded with saturated fats, sodium, and nitrates. Saturated fat can contribute to plaque buildup inside arteries, narrowing the vessels that carry oxygen-rich blood to the brain. High sodium content can cause blood pressure to spike, while nitrates, used to preserve and color processed meats, can damage the delicate lining of blood vessels over time. For someone over 60, whose arteries may already be less elastic, this creates the perfect environment for a stroke to occur. I think of Mr. Daniels, a 69-year-old former high school football coach who came to see me after experiencing numbness in his left arm and face, a sign of a transient ischemic attack. He was active, didn't smoke, and kept his weight within a healthy range. His one indulgence? A big breakfast every morning, 2 eggs, toast, and 2 slices of bacon. He told me, "Doc, I thought eggs were good for me." And they are, in the right context. But when eaten with bacon daily, his saturated fat and sodium intake was far higher than he realized. Over the years, that combination silently contributed to the narrowing of his carotid arteries. Even for those who skip processed meats, there's another egg-related pitfall: cooking them in unhealthy oils or pairing them with refined carbohydrates like white toast. Frying eggs in butter or margarine adds unnecessary saturated and trans fats, while refined bread can cause blood sugar spikes that lead to inflammation, both of which damage blood vessels. So, how can you keep eggs in your diet without the hidden risks? The key is to separate the egg from the problem pairing. Instead of bacon or sausage, try pairing eggs with vegetables like spinach, tomatoes, or mushrooms. These not only provide fiber and antioxidants, but also help offset some of the cholesterol and fat in the eggs. Cooking eggs in a small amount of olive oil or poaching them in water can further reduce unhealthy fat intake. For patients like Mr. Daniels, switching to scrambled eggs with sautéed vegetables and olive oil made a big difference. Within months, his cholesterol improved, his blood pressure readings normalized, and his energy in the mornings was more consistent. There's one more hidden benefit to changing your egg pairing. It reduces the risk of something called postprandial lepmia, a temporary spike in blood fats after eating. In older adults, this spike can be more pronounced and last longer, keeping blood vessels in a state of low-grade inflammation for hours after breakfast. By avoiding fatty processed meats and using heart-healthy cooking methods, you minimize this effect and keep blood flow to the brain steady. So, enjoy your eggs, but rethink what sits beside them on your plate. Breakfast is the foundation of your day, and the wrong combination of foods can silently sabotage the very health you're trying to protect. If you thought the dangers of pairing eggs with the wrong side were surprising, wait until you hear about the next diet-friendly breakfast choice. It's sold as light and healthy, but its hidden sugars can inflame your arteries just as much as a dessert. That's next. Walk down the dairy aisle of any supermarket, and you'll see rows of brightly colored containers labeled low-fat, light, or fat-free yogurt. They're marketed as healthy, weight-conscious choices, rich in protein, calcium, and probiotics for gut health. Many seniors choose them believing they're making a smart swap that supports both digestion and bone strength. But here's the unsettling truth. Most flavored low-fat yogurts are little more than dessert in disguise, and for older adults, that hidden sugar load can inflame arteries and raise stroke risk. When manufacturers remove fat from yogurt, they often add large amounts of sugar to make up for the loss of creaminess and flavor. A single 6-ounce serving of flavored low-fat yogurt can contain 15 to 20 grams of sugar. That's 4 to 5 teaspoons, much of it added sugar rather than the natural lactose found in milk. For seniors, this sudden influx of sugar first thing in the morning can cause rapid spikes in blood glucose, followed by sharp crashes. These swings don't just leave you tired and hungry. They trigger inflammation inside blood vessels, which over time can stiffen arteries and impair blood flow to the brain. I remember treating Mrs. Reynolds, a 73-year-old retiree who came to see me after feeling dizzy and confused several mornings a week. She had no history of diabetes, but her blood sugar readings were erratic. When we reviewed her diet, I found that she started every morning with a low-fat blueberry yogurt, a banana, and coffee. While the banana was fine, the yogurt had 18 grams of sugar, and she often followed it with toast and jam. This sugar overload, without enough protein or healthy fat to slow absorption, sent her blood sugar soaring, then crashing, a pattern that can increase oxidative stress in the brain's blood vessels and raise the risk of both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes. There's another overlooked issue. Low-fat yogurts often contain thickeners, artificial flavors, and food dyes. While these additives may not directly cause strokes, they can contribute to systemic inflammation and poor gut health, which indirectly affect vascular health. For seniors already battling mild inflammation or compromised immune function, this adds another layer of risk. And here's something else few people realize. Removing the natural fat from yogurt can actually reduce the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. These vitamins play important roles in protecting brain cells, regulating blood clotting, and maintaining the flexibility of blood vessels. Without the fat to help carry them into your system, you lose a valuable nutritional benefit. So what's the better option? Choose plain, full-fat, or low-sugar yogurt with live-active cultures. The natural fats help keep you full longer, slow down sugar absorption, and improve the bioavailability of essential vitamins. You can add your own sweetness with fresh berries, which provide antioxidants, or a small drizzle of raw honey if needed. Pairing yogurt with a handful of nuts or seeds adds healthy fats and protein, further stabilizing blood sugar. When Mrs. Reynolds switched to plain Greek yogurt with strawberries and a sprinkle of walnuts, her morning dizziness disappeared within weeks. Her energy lasted longer into the day, and her blood sugar readings stabilized. More importantly, her blood pressure, which had been creeping upward, returned to a healthy range. The lesson here is clear. A low-fat label doesn't automatically make a food heart or brain-friendly. For seniors, cutting fat but adding sugar can be a dangerous trade-off, especially when it comes to stroke prevention. If you found the truth about low-fat yogurt surprising, wait until you hear about the next breakfast food. It's creamy, rich, and often considered a good fat, but when processed and salted, it can load your body with artery-damaging ingredients before your day even starts. That's coming up next. Nut butters, especially peanut butter and almond butter, have a reputation as nutrient-dense, good fats. They're rich in protein, healthy monounsaturated fats, and minerals like magnesium and potassium, all of which are important for heart and brain health. Many seniors enjoy them spread on toast, stirred into oatmeal, or even eaten by the spoonful as a quick snack. In theory, they should be a great breakfast choice. But here's where things go wrong. Most commercially available nut butters are processed with excess salt, added sugars, and hydrogenated oils, turning this wholesome food into a silent threat to your arteries. Salt is the first concern. Just 2 tablespoons of many popular peanut butter brands can contain up to 150 to 200 milligrams of sodium. While that might not sound like much, it adds up quickly, especially if you also consume toast, cereal, or other processed breakfast items that contain sodium. For older adults, whose kidneys may not filter sodium as efficiently, the excess can contribute to elevated blood pressure. Over time, chronic high blood pressure weakens arterial walls, making them more prone to rupture, one of the leading causes of hemorrhagic stroke. The second hidden danger is added sugar. Some brands include 2 to 4 grams of sugar per serving, which when combined with other breakfast sugars can cause blood sugar spikes. As we've discussed in earlier sections, these spikes trigger inflammation in blood vessels and can accelerate the progression of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque that narrows arteries and restricts blood flow to the brain. But perhaps the most overlooked risk is hydrogenated oils, a source of trans fats. These are sometimes added to nut butters to prevent the natural oil from separating. Even in small amounts, trans fats are harmful. They lower HDL, good cholesterol, raise LDL, bad cholesterol, and increase systemic inflammation. For seniors already managing cholesterol or blood pressure issues, these changes can tip the balance toward a stroke event. I think of Mr. Wallace, a 72-year-old retiree who came to my office with steadily rising blood pressure and cholesterol levels despite exercising and eating healthy. His breakfast was almost always the same: whole wheat toast with peanut butter and a banana. When I checked the label of his peanut butter brand, it contained added sugar, salt, and partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. By switching to a natural, unsweetened almond butter and pairing it with sliced strawberries instead of banana to reduce sugar load, his blood pressure improved and his cholesterol profile shifted in the right direction within 3 months. There's also the matter of portion size. Nut butters are calorie-dense, and while healthy fats are beneficial, too much of any fat, especially when combined with refined carbs, can lead to post-meal lipemia, a surge in blood fats that keeps blood vessels inflamed for hours. For seniors, whose vascular systems are Already more sensitive, this can have long-term consequences for stroke risk. So, what's the safe way to enjoy nut butters? Choose natural, unsweetened versions with just 1 or 2 ingredients, nuts, and maybe a pinch of salt. Watch portion sizes. 1 tablespoon is often enough to get the flavor and nutrients without overloading calories or sodium. Pair nut butter with high-fiber, low-sugar foods like apple slices, celery sticks, or sprouted grain bread to slow digestion and support steady blood sugar levels. Rotate nut butters, almond, walnut, or cashew, to diversify your nutrient intake. When patients make this shift, they often tell me they not only feel lighter after breakfast, but also notice fewer mid-morning energy crashes. Over time, these small changes in sodium, sugar, and fat quality can make a meaningful difference in blood vessel health. If you think nut butter's hidden dangers are eye-opening, wait until we tackle the next breakfast habit. It's a drink that millions rely on to wake up, and while it can be beneficial in moderation, having it at the wrong time and in the wrong way can send your blood pressure soaring before you've even left the kitchen. That's next. For millions of people, coffee isn't just a beverage, it's a ritual. The aroma, the warmth of the mug in your hands, and that first energizing sip feel like the true start of the day. Coffee, in moderation, can indeed have health benefits. It's rich in antioxidants, may improve cognitive function, and can even support cardiovascular health when consumed sensibly. But for seniors, timing, quantity, and preparation can turn this daily habit into a hidden risk, especially when coffee is consumed on an empty stomach. Here's the issue. Caffeine is a stimulant. When you drink coffee, especially strong black coffee, it triggers the release of adrenaline, which increases your heart rate and causes your blood vessels to constrict. This, in turn, raises blood pressure, sometimes by as much as 10 points for several hours. For younger adults, the body compensates quickly. But in seniors, whose arteries are often less flexible and whose blood pressure may already be borderline high, this morning surge can strain the vessels supplying the brain. Over time, repeated daily spikes can contribute to vascular damage and increase stroke risk. I remember one patient, Mrs. Foster, a 70-year-old former nurse, who came to me with unexplained headaches and occasional lightheadedness in the mornings. Her home blood pressure readings were mostly normal, except right after breakfast. When we tracked her routine, we found the culprit. She drank 2 cups of strong black coffee within 15 minutes of waking before eating anything. Her fasting caffeine intake caused a sudden surge in blood pressure, which, combined with mild arterial stiffness, was enough to trigger these symptoms. There's also the diuretic effect of coffee. While moderate coffee intake doesn't dehydrate most people, in seniors who may already be prone to dehydration, the increased urination can reduce blood volume slightly. This can lead to thicker, more viscous blood, which makes clot formation more likely, especially dangerous if you already have plaque buildup in your arteries. Acidity is another factor. Black coffee on an empty stomach can irritate the lining of the stomach and small intestine, triggering an inflammatory response in some people. Chronic low-grade inflammation is a known contributor to endothelial dysfunction, the impaired ability of blood vessels to relax and dilate properly. Over years, this dysfunction plays a direct role in the development of both ischemic and hemorrhagic strokes. And let's not forget what often goes into the coffee. Many seniors add spoonfuls of sugar, flavored creamers, or syrups, which can turn a zero-calorie beverage into a blood sugar spike waiting to happen. These additives not only increase calorie load, but also fuel the same inflammatory processes we've discussed in earlier sections. So, what's the safer way to enjoy coffee? Never drink it on an empty stomach. Have it after a balanced breakfast with some protein and healthy fat to buffer its effects on blood pressure and blood sugar. Limit intake to 1 to 2 cups per day, ideally before noon, to avoid interfering with sleep. Since poor sleep itself is a stroke risk factor, skip the sugary creamers and opt for a splash of milk, unsweetened almond milk, or just a dash of cinnamon for flavor. If you have hypertension, consider switching to half-caffeinated or decaf options, which still provide antioxidants without as strong a blood pressure surge. When Mrs. Foster switched to drinking her coffee after eating and cut her intake from 2 cups to 1, her morning headaches disappeared. Her blood pressure became more stable, and she reported feeling more alert throughout the day, without the mid-morning energy crash she used to experience. The bottom line, coffee doesn't have to be off limits, but it needs to be respected. For seniors, The goal isn't to eliminate it, but to consume it in a way that supports, not sabotages, vascular health. If you think your morning coffee might be risky, wait until you hear about the next breakfast favorite. It's often marketed as a crunchy, fiber-rich energy booster, but many brands are loaded with sugars and unhealthy fats that can quietly clog your arteries before the day has even begun. That's next. Granola has a health halo that's hard to shake. The word itself conjures images of mountain hikes, wholesome ingredients, and natural living. Many seniors choose granola because it seems like the perfect combination of fiber, healthy fats, and a touch of sweetness. A quick, no-cook breakfast that pairs beautifully with yogurt or milk. But here's the reality. Most store-bought granolas are closer to dessert than a heart-healthy meal. And for older adults, the hidden sugar and unhealthy fat content can quietly accelerate artery damage and increase stroke risk. The first red flag is sugar content. A single cup of many commercial granolas can contain 15 to 25 grams of sugar, sometimes more than a frosted breakfast cereal. That sugar often comes from multiple sources: cane sugar, brown sugar, honey, maple syrup, molasses, and even sweetened dried fruit. While dried fruit may seem harmless, it's calorie-dense and concentrated in sugar, causing rapid blood glucose spikes. For seniors who may already have some degree of insulin resistance, these spikes lead to inflammation in blood vessel walls, making them more vulnerable to plaque buildup and clot formation. Then there are the unhealthy fats. To achieve that golden, crunchy texture, many manufacturers bake granola with vegetable oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids, such as soybean or corn oil. In excess, omega-6s can promote inflammation, especially when they're not balanced with omega-3s. Worse, some cheaper brands use partially hydrogenated oils, a source of trans fats, which are directly linked to higher stroke risk by raising LDL, bad, cholesterol, and lowering HDL, good, cholesterol. I think of Mr. Klein, a 68-year-old retired accountant who came to my clinic with steadily rising triglyceride levels despite cutting back on red meat and sweets. His healthy breakfast was a large bowl of granola with low-fat milk every morning. When we analyzed his brand, we found it had 18 grams of sugar and 7 grams of unhealthy fat per serving, and he was eating nearly twice the suggested portion. Over the years, that combination quietly pushed his blood lipids into dangerous territory. Portion size is another hidden trap. Granola is calorie-dense, averaging 400 to 500 calories per cup. Many people eat it like cereal, filling the bowl, but a true serving is often just 1/4 to 1/3 cup. For seniors who are less active, regularly exceeding calorie needs can lead to gradual weight gain. Another factor that strains the cardiovascular system. The good news? Granola doesn't have to be off limits if you choose wisely. Look for brands with less than 6 grams of sugar per serving, no hydrogenated oils, and healthy fat sources like coconut oil, olive oil, or nuts. Even better, make your own at home using rolled oats, unsweetened coconut flakes, raw nuts, seeds, and a small amount of natural sweetener like honey. Baking it yourself allows you to control the oil and sugar content while adding stroke-protective ingredients such as walnuts, rich in omega-3s, and flax seeds, a good source of lignans and fiber. Another strategy is to use granola as a topping, not the base. Sprinkle a tablespoon or two over plain Greek yogurt or a bowl of fresh berries instead of filling an entire bowl. This way, you still enjoy the crunch and flavor without overloading on sugar and calories. When Mr. Klein switched to a homemade, low-sugar granola and used it as a garnish instead of a main dish, his triglycerides dropped by 30 points within 6 months, and his energy throughout the day improved. He even commented that his breakfast now felt lighter, but kept him satisfied until lunch. The key takeaway: a food's reputation doesn't always match its nutritional reality. For seniors, every breakfast choice is an opportunity to support or sabotage vascular health. And speaking of opportunities, our final section will focus on what you should eat for breakfast, the swaps and combinations that will fuel your brain, protect your arteries, and help you lower your stroke risk starting tomorrow morning. We've spent this entire video uncovering the surprising ways that common breakfast foods, even the ones marketed as healthy, can quietly increase your stroke risk over time. From citrus juices that interfere with medication, to instant oatmeals loaded with hidden sugars, to granolas that are more like candy than a wholesome meal, It's clear that starting the day right takes more than just good intentions. But here's the good news. Changing your breakfast habits doesn't mean giving up flavor, satisfaction, or convenience. In fact, the right swaps can give you more energy, keep your brain sharp, and protect your arteries, all while still being easy to prepare. The first rule is balance. Every breakfast should include a mix of protein, healthy fats, and fiber-rich carbohydrates. This combination keeps blood sugar stable, prevents energy crashes, and reduces the inflammatory stress that damages blood vessels. Here are 6 brain and heart-safe breakfast swaps you can start using right away. Berries. Instead of juice, whole berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, are rich in antioxidants and fiber, which slow sugar absorption. Unlike juice, they don't cause rapid blood sugar spikes and are naturally anti-inflammatory. Steel-cut or rolled oats. Instead of instant oats, these less processed oats release glucose slowly, keeping you fuller for longer and reducing vascular stress. Top them with cinnamon, chia seeds, and fresh fruit for added heart benefits. Sprouted grain or sourdough bread. Instead of regular whole wheat, sprouted grains and naturally fermented sourdough reduce phytic acid, making minerals more bioavailable. Pair with avocado or hummus for a nutrient-dense topping. Eggs with vegetables. Instead of eggs, with processed meats. Scrambled eggs with spinach, tomatoes, or mushrooms provide the same satisfying protein but add antioxidants and fiber with far less sodium and saturated fat. Plain Greek yogurt. Instead of flavored low-fat yogurt, Greek yogurt is higher in protein and lower in sugar, helping to stabilize blood sugar. Sweeten naturally with berries or a drizzle of honey and add a sprinkle of nuts for healthy fats. Homemade low-sugar granola or seeds. Instead of store-bought granola, making your own lets you control sugar and fat content. Try mixing rolled oats, walnuts, flax seeds, and cinnamon for a crunchy topping over yogurt or fruit. Beyond food choices, there are a few simple breakfast rules that can make a big difference in your stroke prevention plan. Eat earlier in the day. Eating breakfast within 1 to 2 hours of waking helps regulate blood sugar and hormone levels for the rest of the day. Always pair carbs with protein or fat. This slows digestion, reduces blood sugar spikes, and minimizes vascular stress. Avoid high sodium and processed foods first thing in the morning. This is when your blood pressure is naturally rising. Don't add fuel to the fire. Stay hydrated. Even mild dehydration can thicken the blood and make clot formation more likely. Start your day with a glass of water before coffee or tea. I've seen patients turn their health around by making just these small changes. Like Mr. Daniels, who swapped bacon for spinach with his eggs and saw his blood pressure stabilize. Or Mrs. Reynolds, who replaced flavored low-fat yogurt with plain Greek yogurt and berries and felt her morning energy return. These aren't extreme diets. They're simple, sustainable choices. The most important thing to remember is this. Aging changes the way your body responds to food. What was harmless in your 30s may carry risks in your 60s or 70s. But with knowledge, you have the power to adapt, protect your health, and even reverse some of the damage that's been done. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another tip designed just for you. You have one body, one brain, and one heart. Protect them every morning, starting tomorrow.